What is up, you guys? It is Francis coming to you live. I am really excited about a lot of stuff happening, and I have my iPad. That way, if you guys have questions today or comments, I can see the comment box. But you guys, today has been an amazing day. There's been a lot of fun and exciting stuff happening. But I wanted to go live about something because as I was reading something earlier, and if you guys tune in live, say what's up. If you catch us on replay, I love you guys, replay viewers. You guys are the MVPs too, because you show massive love, and I'm super grateful. But I wanted to share something as we've been talking in our community, where there's just immense support. We're leaning on each other with different strategy and stuff, and I was going I'm going back through a book called Debt Free Living. And I would recommend this to anyone really who maybe you just want to kind of read through what debt free living looks like. I don't know about you, but I'm just in a space in my life, just in general, where I don't want to be the borrower. I just don't, and my mind is just in a different place. There are just different goals that I want to accomplish. And so my mind's just somewhere else. And something that I find really interesting is, right, what society accustoms people to thinking is the right way. And I want to preface this whole conversation with, you may not agree with some of the things that I say, and that is okay, because we're adults, y'all. We can agree to disagree, but this was just something really powerful that I'm like, man, if people were just maybe taught earlier, or if you come from poverty like I do, there are certain things that you want to learn so that you have a better head start, if that makes sense. So the book, I'm trying to find the author. um so the book is called Debt Free Living, and I'll post it in the comments afterward, you guys. It's a great read. It's something I'm going back through in our household. We're starting a challenge, or really a lifestyle change, starting October 1st. We're doing a couple of different things, and this was really good. Let me know in the comments. I see you guys live. Say what's up. I'm a mom for real, you guys. Amara's tearing the basement up. But let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Can you see me okay? I think we're good because I have my iPad right here, so that I can make sure if comments come through, I can see them. But, you know, the book, like I said, I'll post it in the comments. It is Debt Free Living, really how to get out of debt and stay out of it, okay? It's by Larry Burkitt. And like I said, I'll post the exact copy in the comments, and you guys can go through and look at that. But there was a really powerful section in there that talked about three major expenses that lead to people being in debt, okay? And like I said, you may or may not agree with me. And no matter what, it is all good. I love you the same. We're entitled to have different beliefs. Um, but what was shared in here, I want to give you maybe a different perspective, because it is true, at least for me, and what I'm considering truth. Okay. So in this section, the author Larry, he's talking about couples that he counsels financially and stuff, and he's talking about three major debts. I mean, there's research upon research upon research on this. And it's funny because working at the bank, you would see this a lot too. So let's talk about it. And like I said, if you guys have comments, drop them. If you have questions, drop them. But the first one is um owning a home. And again, some people may debate this. It is okay. I love you the same. Okay. But in this book, he talks about owning a home. Okay. And while some people are like, well, I'm all about ownership, I'm not debating that. I personally highly believe in ownership. But what he talks about in this chapter is the mistake that people make. Let me explain. Okay. And like I said, you may or may not agree with this, and that is okay, no matter what way you go or how you feel about this part of the conversation. But it is common, you guys. There's research upon research upon research that shows this. And so when it comes to owning a home, and he says in the book, I use the word owning a home loosely. Why? Because you guys, technically, when you have a mortgage, you don't own the home. The bank owns the home. And so what he talks about is a lot of couples, a lot of, single people, it doesn't matter if you're a couple or single, but what tends to happen is you're either buying too soon, right? You are paying too much, right? Maybe you're coming to the table with less of a down payment, and so your month, and again, I'm not here to debate realtors on my page, none of that. I love y'all the same. I'm just sharing his perspective because I feel the same way. And now that I just have so much more knowledge, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm with you on this one, Larry. And so he talks about they either purchase too soon, they either pay too much, and then they end up in financial trouble. Because what he talks about is that people will wreck their budgets to try to get into a home, because of whatever personal reasons, they want ownership, whatever the case is. And again, I'm not against ownership, you guys. He just talks about a more strategic, smart way to go about owning a home. And so I also want to pause right there and let you know that if you're on this live and maybe you feel like, man, I'm 37 and I'm still renting and I really want to buy a house, or maybe you like renting and you don't feel any sense of urgency to purchase a home. Don't let anyone make you feel like you need to live on their timeline. Because I don't know about you, but for me, right? Sometimes I would go to family functions and they would be like, "Oh, when are you going to buy a house?" And it would be some of these same family members that struggle to pay their mortgage every month. And so I just want you to have some sense of, um what's up, Mila? Say what's up if you guys are on live. I just want you to have a sense of comfort, if you will, knowing that however you're doing your process, that's how you're doing it. For us personally, like I said, we're just in this different mindset of, October 1st, we're starting a lot of different things. And right now we're being very strategic with a lot of things. And I don't let anybody make me feel bad like I used to when they ask me, "Oh, do you own your house?" No, I love my house, but we rent it. And I don't feel ashamed to say that, or I don't feel like I have to piggyback that with, "Oh, well, I'll buy a house eventually." Like, first, it's really no one's business what you want to do. But two, really, like, honor your timeline, whatever that looks like for you. And maybe you're not in a rush to own a home, okay? Because Larry said it best. People wreck their budget to get into a home that really, if I got to be honest, and again, some people won't agree with me, and that's okay, it's glorified renting. The bank owns your home. I would see time and time and time again where people would come into the bank because they want a loan and they can't, because they can't afford the monthly mortgage that month, right? Then he talks about how a mistake that couples make, and again, I'm just giving you what Larry's talking about, okay? But and he counsels a lot of couples financially how to get out of debt but actually stay out of debt, and not in a scarce way. But he says that a mistake couples make is that they base going into a mortgage off of dual income, right? Both of their income. But he doesn't recommend that. And here's why: because life happens to people. And so what if you're a couple and your wife or your spouse gets pregnant and can't work, or maybe she's sick and she needs bed rest? Like, now you were counting on a whole secondary income. And that's what he explains. Mila, I'm going to drop it in the comments, but it's this book right here. It is Debt Free Living by Larry Burkitt. It's an awesome read, you guys. I personally like him more than Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey has a lot of good strategy. There's stuff that I like from him, but then I also feel like some of the stuff is like scarcity thinking, and so I personally like Larry's explanation a lot more for a lot of these things. So he talks about don't base it on dual income because life happens to people. They may get hurt. The woman might get pregnant and then they're struggling to pay for this home. And honestly, you guys, working in banking, you would see it all the time. They would be asking if they could refinance for a better rate. And technically they weren't in a position to be able to refinance, so they couldn't help them. And so there's just a lot of things that he talks about. And then he talks about how as believers, as Christians, that's the other thing I love about this, is he has a lot of scripture kind of weaved into what he's teaching about, getting out of debt and staying out of debt. Is he talks about how, and I don't want to like butcher this, so I'm just going to read this quick section, but he says, okay, hold on. Okay, so he says, too often Christians limit their faith in God only to the unseen things, such as salvation and good health. But I happen to believe that God manifests himself in material ways to those who trust him. But when he talked about buying the home and how you shouldn't be counting on dual income, he talks about Proverbs 22:3, where it says, the prudent sees the evil and hides himself, but the naive go on and get punished for it. And so that's when he was using the example of basing your home purchase on two incomes, which he doesn't recommend. And so that's one of them, you guys. What's up, Keith? The second one is cars, y'all. Vehicles, okay? And I'm not saying any of this because you're not allowed to want a nice house. I'm not saying it because you're not allowed to want a nice car. Like, let's be honest. I think everyone wants nice things, but you got to think about, what do you want more? Do you want to be completely financially free and then be able to make your purchases fully free, or how do you want to do it? And for everybody, it's different. I'm just sharing with you kind of where my mindset is at, what I want to accomplish before I'm 33, 34. And so he talks about cars, y'all. And I don't come from wealth, okay? I don't come from money. That's just my honest truth. I'm a Puerto Rican Dominican from the Bronx, New York, raised by a single mom. And so one thing that, oh yes, Mila, I'm so excited. I really do love it. One thing that he talks about, well, here's the first reality, at least for me. I've made a whole lot of different mistakes with cars. My first car, my mom, shout out to her, she's amazing. She bought me a car when I was 16, which was amazing. I was super grateful. But then I was a knucklehead when I turned 18 and I wanted to chase after a guy and move to New York City. And so rightly so, she took the car from me because she told me, you're chasing after someone else's life instead of being smart about your life first. And you guys, like, I'm just saying, my mom was right, okay? But every dud knows a stud. And thank you, God, for saving me from duds, right? But so that was my first car. Then when I moved to Indiana, I bought this hoopty. It was amazing, though. I paid cash for it. It was nice. It took me everywhere I needed to go. And then I had a really heavy consumer mindset. I had a really heavy spending mindset. Okay. I was 19 and I wanted a brand new Chrysler 300, which I ended up going for, and I got it, and it was so expensive. And give me 1 second, you guys. My toddler is going ham. 1 second. Amara, let me help you, okay? Say thank you, Mama. Don't throw him back in there, then you won't be able to get him out. All right, you guys, I'm back. Okay, toddler life is real. So I got the Chrysler 300, and it was a hot mess. It was a hot mess. It ended up being someone else's car. Thank you, God, for amazing friends. And just needless to say, God saved me from that situation. Then I had another little kind of hoopty car, and it was amazing. It took me everywhere I needed to go. And then, and this is just my truth, you guys, because sometimes you may be on here and maybe you have like not the newest car, But your car, you paid for it cash. It takes you everywhere you need to go. Sometimes you're in a better position than other people. So focus on what you're doing, focus on your pace, focus on what's going on in your life and what you want to accomplish for your life. And stop worrying about just because so and so, oh my gosh, they have such a nice car, they have a nice house. You don't know how much debt they're in if they're in debt. I'm not saying that they are, but that's why you just got to focus on you and the things that you're trying to accomplish on your timeline, right? And with whatever method you want to do it, because someone might not mind having a $500 or $600 car payment. That's on them. That's just not where I'm at with it. And so cars depreciate the minute you drive them off the freaking lot, right? So when I was 19 and I bought a brand new Chrysler 300, I didn't think about a lot of these things, okay? Then I had, like I said, another hoopty or whatever, and then finally it gave up on me. And then I'm going to tell you the worst mistake that I made, because you guys, this is about transparency. I just want to share my truth with you because it might save you from a next mistake. I don't know. I was pregnant and I leased a car. Oh my God. I was a banker, y'all. I know better. And I leased a car. And sometimes life stressors or life events, when you don't plan properly or plan as best as you can, put you in a vulnerable position. They put you in a position to feel like, man, I got to make a move and I got to make it fast. But sometimes when you do that, you don't make the best move. And so, you guys, I'm just like so excited that this whole ordeal is done in December. I'm either going to decide to outright purchase that one on the spot because I had already leased it, or I'm just going to buy a different one fully in cash. Thank you, God, for options, okay? Because I learned my lesson. And what he talks about with cars is a lot of times, and again, I saw this in banking too, and you see it all the time, is if people don't get approved for a house, they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to get a new car because, you know, I got a hoopty, but I really wanted the home first. Well, since I can't get the home, then I'm going to get a car. And unfortunately, that is not the solution, because a lot of times if you couldn't get approved for the home, chances are your interest rate, I'm sorry, because my daughter's right here screaming. Chances are your interest rate for that car is about to be crazy. And so what he talks about is cars are a debt trap. Let's call it what it is. Unless you learn the rules of, you know, purchasing assets that are going to pay for a liability like a car, right? And I'm so grateful for mentorship, because our mentorship, they talk about this all the time with us. And it's like, he calls it a debt trap. And he says, what people do, and this is one of the biggest mistakes they do, is they focus only on that monthly payment. I'm guilty, y'all. When I was 19, I was just like, how much is this going to cost me every month? You know, I had just started my career in banking. I wasn't that far advanced, you know, and I hadn't learned a lot of things. And I was just like, you know, it's me. I don't have no real responsibilities but me. Y'all ever think like that? Okay. And then you have kids and everything changes. And you're like, oh, shoot, it's getting real out here. And so understand that it's not to say that you can't want a nice car, you guys. It's the strategy behind a lot of this, right? So anyway, he talks about how people only focus on the monthly payment, and then they see themselves in financial trouble because something else comes up that's unexpected. And then now they're like, oh, shoot, I have this $350, $400. Some people are paying $500 and $600, which I think that's crazy. Like $600 for a car payment. But again, everybody's entitled to want to do life their way, you guys. Like, I'm just sharing this for educational purposes and to just like give you the different perspective, because maybe you're on here and if you're like me, you know, my mom could only teach me what she knew. And she did an amazing job, but I'm just grateful that now I've been just over the last really year, more than anything, but just over time, learning things to give Amara the best head start possible in her life, right? And so cars, y'all, be very careful. Like, don't be concerned. If you have a goal, let's just talk about like if you have a specific goal, right? If your goal is to be debt free and stay out of debt and be fully financially free eventually, right? If you know that that's your goal, I probably wouldn't go get a car payment. I'm the goal should be to get out of one if you have one, and then stay without one, right? And so, but again, and I'll talk about this last, but the planning has a lot to do with why we end up in certain situations, just being honest, right? So then let's talk about the third one, scheduled disasters. Maybe you're like, what the heck is a scheduled disaster, right? Cars. Let's use the car example as a scheduled disaster. A potential scheduled disaster could be the fact that we know, unless, I don't know if you have a magic car, but we know that cars need maintenance every probably 20 to 30,000 miles, sometimes sooner if something happens. Or like what happened to me in December, a deer ran out and hit me. No, I didn't hit it. It hit me, okay? But it's alive, so it's okay. But scheduled disasters, something like a car, right? We know that they need maintenance. We know that every 20, maybe 30,000 miles, they need brakes, spark plugs, rotors, the brake pads, whatever else, right? Oil changes, all the things. And so we don't plan for any of that. And then something comes up. You get two flat tires that you need brand new ones. Then the spark plugs start fizzling out and you need all 6 changed or however many there are, right? But people don't think about that. And you don't anticipate or budget for them. And so what he talks about is, okay, well, if you know you own a vehicle, would you not make room in the budget for a scheduled disaster that's going to come up eventually? And it may come sooner rather than later, which is what ends up happening to people. And so he talks about that. Think about a home, right? If you're a homeowner, things like the hot water heater busting, depending on the type of home that you live in and your property policy, you may not have like mechanical breakdown or any additional endorsements on your policy, right? So there's that. So there are scheduled disasters that we don't plan for that end up pushing us in a certain direction that we're like, dang, I did not anticipate this. But really, we could have anticipated it because we know cars need maintenance. So whether that's you have an emergency fund that you don't touch, right? And or your 6-month rainy day fund, where you have a couple months put up of all your monthly expenses, so that what happens if you have your scheduled disasters for your car come up sooner? Y'all, my daughter is bugging. Come up sooner rather than later, you can take care of it, right? And so all this, I just say all this to say, you know, a lot of times we're wondering like, man, how can I do better? What are some things that I could be doing? You guys, there are so many gems hidden in books. And if there's anything that I value, not that I didn't value it before, but that I value so much more, and I have over the last year because of just mentors that just brought it to the forefront. Like, why are you not picking up these books? And again, it wasn't that I didn't value reading, you guys. I actually spoke more Spanish before I ever spoke English. And it's crazy because a lot of times, just because we can do something, we take it for granted, right? So we're not picking up books every day. We're not diving in and catching all the gems that these people have to give. And then we wonder why we're stuck in positions that we can't get out of. Pick up books, y'all. So like I said, it's not that I didn't value reading. This is the one, Debt-Free Living. It's not that I didn't value it before, but over the last year, I value it so much more. And we've read so many books together, and I've read some alone. And it's just so awakening how we have to be so much more grateful for a gift like reading, the ability to read. I heard one of our mentors say when he was doing an Instagram live, he said, oh, I know why I read more than you, because you don't respect reading. You don't respect the fact that you can read. But him, on the other hand, he used to not be able to read. So it's like he says, that's why I read more than you, because I respect reading. I respect the fact that now I can read, and I used to not be able to read. And so pick up these books, you guys. If you're struggling with parenting, you guys, selfless plug. Like, I'm glad somebody told me it was okay to pick up a book if I was struggling in my relationship personally, right? I'm grateful for mentorship that says, if you're struggling with your parenting, pick up a book written by, child psychologists, therapists. Pick those up. And your what they call, one of my mentors, I just love her so much, she calls it your definite chief aim. Like, what do you want? And if what you want is better parenting, more patient parenting, pick up a book that can help you. Download an audio if you're like, I just don't read. But you guys, every successful person, no matter how you define success, they read. So I say all of that to say the main thing Larry Burkitt mentions in that chapter about these 3 expenses that really become major debts for people and put them in debt is failure to plan. Because again, if you know that you're a homeowner, your hot water heater goes out, that's your responsibility. Typically, not very many policies allow extra endorsements, depending on the state you're in, for, mechanical breakdown. And a lot of times with homeowners, a lot of things can be considered wear and tear that your policy won't cover, and then you're responsible for anyway. And then if you don't plan properly, then you're in a position where it's like, oh man, I'm going to have to go borrow to take care of this because this is a necessity, right? Like if you need a new shower pan or something like that, that's considered wear and tear. And so little things like that, he just calls it failure to plan. And so if we could just plan better for things that we know are going to come up, then we'll be in a lot better of a position. So I hope that this helped somebody today. It was just, this book is so full of value. And again, you may not agree with some of his perspective or all of it, and that's totally okay. But for the person that maybe this can help, you guys, I'm going to drop I don't get paid to recommend this book. Like, this is legit just, a really good read, even if you don't take all of it, right? Some other topics in this book are, right, obviously, is it better to rent or own? He talks about that more in detail. Is borrowing a sin? Again, I love that there's scripture in here. He talks about, when is bankruptcy a good idea? He talks about what types of credit should I avoid? And then, the back on here just says debt-free living teaches you that what God has to say about debt and assists you in achieving a life that is debt-free. And I didn't know that he had so many books, you guys. Now I'm curious. I want to go grab a couple more of his books. But, you guys, these statistics are crazy. And it's just time for us to just do better, really, for our sake, for our family's sake. Because nearly 80% of divorced couples between the ages of 20 and 30, you guys, that's young, 20 and 30, report that financial problems were their primary cause of marital breakdown. Many people are not even sure how they got into their financial predicament, let alone how to get out. And so, if you're on here, don't feel shame, don't feel guilt, don't feel embarrassment. Be okay with finding resources that you can open to help you get to where you want to go, right? That could be financially, that can be with your relationship. One thing that I realized is we all have toxic behaviors, right? No one of us is perfect. And what I realized was, Francis, there's some work on you that you got to do, right? Because you're saying these things you're not liking about your relationship and how it's moving and stuff. And this is just full transparency, you guys. But what I failed to do initially, and this is why awareness is so amazing, you guys, don't underestimate mentorship. Like, I'm so grateful for my personal mentorship, outside of what we're doing, financially and helping people there. But I'm just so grateful because it raised my level of awareness, where I had to sit down and say, okay, Francis, well, you're saying this and this, but where are you? Like, what are you doing effective? What are you trying to do? How are you trying to improve these areas? And I had to sit down and check me, because the truth is, the one thing or person that I can't control is me, self, right? And so I just want to encourage somebody today. It's okay if you're not where you want to be right now, but you can't keep complaining or, just throwing a pity party and bringing the balloons to it if you're not willing to um implement different behaviors and habits and picking up books that are going to help you. So I love you guys. Have an amazing rest of your night. And if you found value in this, let me know what was the most useful part or impactful piece that maybe makes you want to grab this copy. Let me know in the chat. And if you did find it valuable, feel free to share this. If you're watching on YouTube Live, let me know in the comments still what was most impactful for you. And feel free to hit like, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned. I'm going to be sharing a lot more education around the crypto space and just really sharing my journey to freedom, whatever, right? Freedom means for you, but just my journey and, little strategies and things that we're implementing that could be an idea for you. But yes, let's rock it, you guys. This can still be the best rest of your year, right? For 2021. And really 2022 starts now. It doesn't start later. So I'll see you guys soon. Stay tuned for more value. Let me know what you love best. We'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.